Attention all units. Suspect seen heading south. Block all major roads and capture the suspect.
City Escape is probably the thing most people think about when someone says Sonic Adventure 2, but we'll loop back to that later. Sonic Adventure 2 is a game a lot of people have opinions about. With the new Sonic film shortly coming out, now is as good a time as any to talk about it, I guess. So yeah, Sonic's new film has Shadow, so why not talk about the game he first appeared in? Well, I could talk about Sonic X Shadow Generations, or Shadow the Hedgehog. I do own 2 copies of the game. No, I'll not explain why. That's my business, and my business alone. But as to why I felt like talking about Sonic Adventure 2 as the topic of this, well, it's just a game I always end up going back to. I'm not sure I can really add anything to the discussion about Sonic Adventure 2, but in this video I can look at my experiences with the game in hopes to find out why it's a game I always come back to 20 plus years later. Now, dear viewer, you probably have an idea about why I always go back to this game. Say it with me now. Nostalgia. Well, yes, you're probably right, but let's go deeper into that nostalgia to get below the surface level. I'm going to be doing this by looking back at my experience with the franchise and where the franchise was generally at the lead up to Adventure. Well, the first Sonic game came out the year I was born, so you can do the math on that if you want to know my age. My dad had a Mega Drive, so I grew up playing the 2D Sonic games. Sonic had a bit of a rough time making it 3D, with no proper Sonic game releasing on the Saturn. I was unaware of this problem since my only home console in the 90s was a Mega Drive. I did get a PlayStation in the year 2000, but I did have a friend who had a Dreamcast, so I did get to see some of Sonic Adventure. It had cutscenes, open hub zones, cool music, and multiple playable characters, and a whale. I wanted this game, but alas the Dreamcast wasn't long left for this world. But Sonic Adventure 2 would make its way to the GameCube, and I did get a GameCube in 2002, so I got my hands on Sonic Adventure 2 Battle. For reference, I did eventually get a Dreamcast in the late 2000s. I even got Sonic Adventure 1 and 2 for it. But the GameCube version is where my nostalgia for the game comes from. For this video I'll be covering the Steam version of the game, with the Battle DLC added in. Let's jump into it. There are 2 main campaigns for the game, Hero and Dark. In both campaigns you'll play as 3 different characters, which is a change from Sonic Adventure 1, where each character has their own separate campaign. Let's start with the heroes first. So we're back to City Escape. As I said at the start of the video, City Escape is probably one of the most iconic things from Sonic Adventure 2. We open the game as Sonic is in gun custody. You won't know why at this point unless you started with the Dark campaign. Sonic bursts out of the helicopter and uses the door as a board to descend down the steep streets in this city.
Attention all units. Suspect seen heading south. Block all major roads and capture the suspect.
This is a very bombastic and memorable way to start the game. Well, if you choose the hero campaign, which I assume most people did the first time around. Sonic stages are what we call high-speed action stages. On the Dark story, you play as Shadow. These stages are centered around, well, speed, and of course the homing attack. This gameplay is first introduced in the first Sonic Adventure. It's clearly the focal point of the Sonic Adventure series. In this gameplay you can also spin dash. You can also get other upgrades as you go through the game, such as the light speed dash, which lets you zip through a line of rings at light speed. In levels you can also pick up a key for the Chao garden, as well as upgrades for your Chao in levels. We'll take a more expanded look at the Chaos later in the video. The speed stages are the most fun out of the other stages. It feels like there's room to improve your mastery of the levels. But there is also the jank, that at times can just throw you to your death, or just stop your momentum in its tracks. Also, the camera can oftentimes fight against you. Another problem can arise from the contextual action button. That can have multiple uses at any one time, which often mean you can do something you don't want to do. Hey, the stages are still fun, but flawed, with moments of spectacle sprinkled into them. So let's get to that gold ring to end the level. After that we get a boss fight which is just okay. Then we get a cutscene and straight to the next level. Yes, one big thing they got rid of from Adventure is the adventure fields, which are basically open hub zones between levels. While I like the novelty of these adventure fields in the first game, I kinda prefer the pacing of going straight from level to level. Speaking of Sonic Adventure, the other two forms of gameplay were lifted from it as well. Next up we have Knuckles and what we call the hunting stages. In the Dark Story you play as Rouge the Bat. This gameplay first appeared in Adventure 1. Like that game, the Master Emerald gets shattered and Knuckles has to find the pieces yet again. You can fly, punch and climb with Knuckles. You can even dig when you get the upgrade. In each level you have to find 3 pieces, with the help of your radar. It goes from green to red as you get closer. Unfortunately you get the radar for 1 piece at a time, meaning you can easily go right past a piece while following the radar that's already locked onto another piece. There is some fun to be had in these levels and some charm, but maybe it's just the music in the Knuckles levels. But some levels can be really annoying to navigate, and then they can drag when you can't find a piece. As a result, not playing these as much as the speed-based missions. And with that we move on to the third level type, the locked-on shooting stages. In the hero side you play as Tails, and the dark side you play as Eggman. You walk around, lock on, shoot things. These stages are similar to the Gamma stages from Adventure 1, but a lot slower. In the Gamma stages you're on a timer and most stages just flew by. Where here you're not on a timer, there's a lot of slow platforming that also feels a bit jank. The shooting itself just feels mindless. I don't hate them, but I don't love them. They are by far the weakest type of mission. Well, if the speed stages are the best, why is the whole game just not that? Well, ever since Sonic made the jump to 3D, my guess is it was just too costly to make a game entirely around speed stages. In Adventure 1 we had 6 different characters, all with their own stage types, that reused levels and assets. In Adventure 2 they picked the 3 best types of stages and made campaigns out of them. In Shadow the Hedgehog you had different objectives that led to branching routes, which of course meant you had to replay the game multiple times. In Unleashed you had the Werehog, and so on. As a result, the game would be considered short by many if it was just the speed stages. Let's move over to talk about the game's story and presentation. You have to play the Hero and Dark story to get the full picture. There's also a final story upon completing both. The broad strokes is Eggman breaks Shadow out of prison because he was looking for the ultimate weapon his grandfather was working on. Shadow says he's the ultimate life form. Shadow says to meet him on a space colony and bring some emeralds. Somehow the gun organisation mistakes Shadow for Sonic. That's why he's in custody at the start of the hero story. So it's a race to get the emeralds and stop Eggman, or help him in the Dark story. Also at one point in the story, Eggman blows up part of the moon. And then at another point in the story, Tails' robot turns into a car to chase down the president. In kart gameplay, that sucks. Which also unlocks the go-kart minigame that I never play. Look, I know that was a bit off topic, but I didn't know where else to shove that in the video. The story was serviceable at best in the early 2000s, but a lot of these cutscenes people will find kinda laughable if you're someone who's used to cutscenes and storytelling in modern games. A lot of the time what the characters are saying feels disconnected from each other, like they're not actually talking to each other. Also, a lot of the cutscenes have horrible audio mixing, where the music blurs over the dialogue so you can barely hear it.
Okay, everyone ready? Shadow, Rouge, on with the show!
Oh, Sonic! I thought I'd never see you again. I'm so glad you made it. You're not Sonic. Who are you?
I'm the one who should be asking that.
Dr. Eggman! Ah!
He's a tiny little cuckold. Leave it to me. I'll take care of her. You two, go!
Glad to see you.
That being said, there are some cool moments and story beats in the game. As one example, when Sonic first encounters Shadow, and Shadow uses a new power that Sonic's never seen before. So there are some cool bits in the story, but for most players overall, it's not going to be the main driving force of why they're going to play the game. So at this point in the video you might say, well, you're kind of down on the game. Maybe all the game is just nostalgia for me. With that said, let's dive into the Chao side of gameplay. Because back on the GameCube, it was probably the main thing that made me keep replaying the game. Will that still be the case? Find out soon!
You're a hedgehog, and you have supersonic powers.
Ball up right now and roll! Action! Come on, honey, and you're brave, and you're scared. Hey, focus!
I want you to think about the marketing opportunities here.
Okay, in front of the paper.
What part of supersonic speed do you not understand?
The right hedgehog is hard to find. New Sonic Adventure 2 Battle with extra 2-player action. Only on Nintendo GameCube. Rated E for everyone.
All right, I'm sorry I yelled at you.
The Chao were first introduced in Sonic Adventure 1. What they are is basically virtual pets, but in Sonic Adventure 2, they have a lot of depth. You see, you can easily complete the main story in 6 hours or maybe less. So replaying levels on the Chao Garden is where a lot of the longevity and replayability of the game comes from. Yes, replaying levels is an important part of raising your Chao, since it gives you resources, such as animals and chaos drives. Those glowing tubes that gun enemies drop. Also you get more rings, which we can spend at a shop. Each level also has 4 other missions you can do in the stage select, which will give you more emblems. So a lot of the post game will be doing these side missions, which is going to give you a lot of stuff for your Chaos in the Chao Garden. But what can you actually do with your Chao? Well, to start with, your Chao will be an egg. You can wait for it to hatch or crack the egg yourself. You can feed your Chao coconuts to increase its stamina. You can also give Chaos animals and chaos drives to increase their other stats. Giving Chao animals can lower some stats, as well as raising others at the same time. Chaos can gain physical features from animals they absorb. You may want to take your Chao to the fortune teller to give it a name. Your Chao can get a medical checkup. You can take your Chao to the classroom to learn drawing or something. There's also the black market, that shop I mentioned earlier, where you can buy more fruit and more Chao eggs, using the rings you collect from levels. The more emblems you get, the more items unlock in the market. There is also the Hero and Dark element to Chaos. You see in the Chao Garden you can play as any of the characters from the main game. Your Chao can become a Hero or Dark Chao, depending on their affinity to the Hero and Dark characters. Your Chao will be considered neutral, if it doesn't have strong affinity to the Hero or Dark side. So if you keep feeding and petting your Chao with Sonic, it will go towards the Hero affinity. If you say abuse your Chao with Sonic, it will become a Dark Chao. Also vice versa if you're playing as a Dark story character. The Chao will become white with a strong Hero affinity, and black with a Dark affinity. When a Chao evolves the first time in the Hero and Dark affinity, you unlock a Hero and a Dark Garden. But what are you raising these Chao for? Well, it's for the Chao races and the Chao karate. Your Chao will need better stats to go further in both competitions. There's a lot more depth to raising a Chao that I've only just really scratched the surface of. The Chao add a lot of value in what would be a short game in Sonic Adventure 2. Not sure why Sega didn't bring it back in the other games. Since most Sonic games tend to be on the shorter side, it would be a great value add. So should you play Sonic Adventure 2? Well yes, if you already like Sonic Adventure 1. You're probably going to like this one. If you're a big Sonic fan, you'll also want to give it a go. Again, if you like the look of the Chaos, then it's probably worth a go as well. But maybe as a casual Sonic fan, or just a fan of 3D platformers, it gets a bit more complicated, because what Sonic Adventure 2 is a flawed game. It has its strong points like the speed stages. I still love playing them 20 plus years later. Even then, they're far from perfect. I don't hate the other level types, but they're just not as strong, especially about the nostalgia. Is nostalgia the reason I come back to the game? Well, probably. But there are still some unique experiences that come from mastering the speed stages, and I also always enjoy my time in the Chao Gardens. But ultimately, if you want to play or even revisit the game, that's just something you have to decide for yourself. If you do want to play the game, you can still buy the game on Steam, if you like to play on PC, and the Xbox Store if you want to play it on Xbox. You might want to pick up the Battle DLC if you want all of the Chao content and more of the multiplayer content. Yes, there is multiplayer. It's a versus mode for the main gameplay types. It's also worth noting that the Steam version will work on the Steam Deck. You can also just emulate the Dreamcast or the GameCube versions if you don't want to purchase the game. Well, this video is over now. Thanks for watching. Do all the things I say to do, like add one to the like, subscribe, engagement, all those wonderful things. I'm just going to sit and kneeling over here trying to grow a hunch until the end of this video. You'll see a recommended video at some point, I guess. I'm just going to sit here till the video ends or you leave.
That's no good.
This hole in the wall was made possible by Eggman Industries.
お前はもう死んでいる。何？